you're an athlete 24/7. You're not an athlete Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. I went through that phase when I was at junior college and then at university, where I was doing what I thought was expected of me. I just thought I'm just going to have to be okay with not feeling as passionate as they do. Conflicted as to what I would do with my life. I know it sounds very dramatic, but at that point I was a full-time, weightlifter. I almost wanted to stop. I almost wanted to be like, I can't do this anymore. I must take a step back and not be a weightlifter anymore.
Yazmin Stevens, 27 years old, weightlifting athlete. And I was looking at your achievements. You have quite a long list. First Maltese woman to go to Europeans for weightlifting. First Maltese person ever to go to weightlifting World Championships, twice now. Competed at the Commonwealth Games in 2018, 7th place. Mediterranean Games in 2018, 5th. Won the overall first place in the European Small Nations 2019 and placed 17th at the World Championships. So for your age, 27 years old, coming from a tiny island, Malta, it says a lot. So when you listen to all this, what do you say to yourself?
Well, of course, I'm quite proud of what I've managed to achieve, especially since I only started the sport 5 years ago. So when I was 22 years old. So this isn't something I've been doing since I was very, very young. I found the sport quite late, some would say.
I'm quite curious about this because it's not the stereotype or the typical athlete. So you started just 5 years ago, you say?
Yes, only 5 years ago. However, I've been doing sport ever since I was very young. I started out when I was very young in gymnastics, and I did that for around 7 years. Then I went into athletics, where I did some sprints. However, then when I got into junior college and I started my studies, I withdrew a bit from sport to focus more on my studies and only managed to do some gym sessions here and there and also some long distance running.
17, 18 you're saying?
Yes, at around 17, 18. And then going into university where I studied maths and statistics, I also did only a bit of gym here and there and again, long distance running, but nothing similar to weightlifting at all, nothing like what I'm doing at the moment. Towards the end of my course at university, in the last year actually, one of my friends in the course suggested I do a session, a CrossFit session after school, after our lectures with him, just as a way to stay fit, because obviously we were sitting down all day, studying all day. And I went to this CrossFit class with him and I immediately loved the weightlifting part of that class, as weightlifting is a part of CrossFit. And the rest is history, basically. I got obsessed with weightlifting, and from right after I graduated, I continued doing weightlifting full-time. So I never actually went back to doing anything else.
When you were younger,
yes,
did something at least once or twice told you, or you told yourself, listen, one day I might do something in sports as a professional athlete?
Well, to be honest, it's always been my dream. It's always been
at the back of your mind.
Definitely. I've always loved sports, and ever since I was young, I'm one of 3 sisters. And I was always driving them crazy because everything I wanted to play wasn't, like sitting down and playing with our dolls or stuff like this. I was the boy of the family. I always wanted to go outside and run or ride our bikes, and I was constantly very active. And my parents would allow me to do anything I asked them I wanted to do in terms of sports. So if I said I want to try gymnastics and swimming and judo, whatever it is I said I wanted to do, they would take me out to try it.
So you were super lucky in that?
Oh yes, definitely. Every single day. My parents drove me to a different sport, sometimes more than one, every single day. So I remember there was like a Tuesday where my mom would take me to the track right after school, then my dad would pick me up and take me somewhere else.
Age?
So this is all the way through when I left secondary school. So I think from the age 7 all the way up to 4 and 5.
So at 8, for example, you could have been easily doing this type of sports, and on the same day this type of sports.
Yes, definitely.
All right, that's
for sure. I was doing so many sports since I was very young. In fact, at the school where I was at, I used to try be team captain of every single sport we used to do, and I used to involve myself in anything, any type of sport association they had.
Do you think that all this helped, contributed to what, or to who you are now? The fact that you have different sports background, you were in athletics.
Performance-wise, it has definitely helped. Let's say in weightlifting, you have to be both strong and explosive, and I've gotten those foundation of that sport from my gymnastics and from my athletics. So I've definitely used a lot of my experience in those factors in weightlifting now. However, I think the biggest thing that has helped me in my career as an athlete now is the mindset my family has, my parents and also my sisters. The type of characteristics, especially my parents have, which is the dream big and work super hard attitude. And in fact, a lot of people do know this. My father is an athlete as well. And he's definitely been my biggest inspiration growing up, because in my household, it was normal to wake up very early, to get your training done before work, before school. It was very normal for it to be your birthday or Christmas or Easter and still make sure that the training is done. So for me, I grew up in that environment where you worked hard no matter what, and there was no excuses. So if it's raining, you know, we'll wait.
You have to show up.
Yes, definitely. So that has definitely really helped. And I've also been understood a lot more throughout my career, because he understands the concept of success and also failure in sports. And I think that more than anything, that support from within my household has given me an edge as an athlete.
So it's a huge asset.
Yes, 100%.
Yes. And what's the major obstacle? So in every discipline and in life, there are obstacles. If you have to mention an obstacle that you find when you're going to compete or when you're going to train, and what's the most, even locally, in weightlifting, you're the first female that actually is taking weightlifting seriously. What's your take about it? Like, what's the major obstacle that you find?
I think in most individual sports, well, in most sports in general, actually not just individual sports, it's the mental aspect behind the sport. So the training, the going to the gym, the doing the work is quite the easy part. Mm-hmm. It's pushing through days where you don't feel great, or where you're not doing as well as usual, or you're slightly injured and you have to adapt your training accordingly. I think pushing through those days and trying to work just as hard with just as much energy is definitely the toughest part. Because like I said before, as an athlete, you're an athlete 24/7. You're not an athlete Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. You're an athlete all year round.
100%.
Even if it's Christmas, if it's New Year. New Year's Day, I was up usual time to the gym, usual time. There's no breaks. You can't decide there's a 2-week holiday break. If you're a full-time athlete, you have to be there 24/7.
Do you remember the day and the time that actually you told to yourself, weightlifting is what I love, this is what I do, and I'm going to take it to the max level that I can? Do you remember that there is always that instance in our life? Can you recall that?
I think I do. I think I remember the phase of the time where I decided this, and it was very early on. And I think it's because I went through that phase when I was at junior college and then at university, where I was doing what I thought was expected of me. At that age, everyone goes to university, everyone gets their degree, then you find a job. And even though I loved school and I always did quite well at it, it wasn't my passion to do so. And I thought that I'd just have to live with it. And I saw everyone around me really enjoy and find their passion in what we were studying. And I just thought I'm just going to have to be okay with not feeling as passionate as they do. But then when I found weightlifting and I saw how I felt about it and I saw how it just made me feel in general, I finally found the passion that I was looking for in something. And I found my place in society. Like I was Yazmin the athlete, and it made sense.
Yes,
exactly,
okay.
It made sense. It just, everything fell into place.
Yes.
Even the people around me finally saw, I think, the real character, Yazmin's
Like you
real
came
character.
out who you are.
Yes, definitely. So I remember thinking, I don't care that I've spent all my life studying to get a good degree. I don't mind putting that aside to just give all my energy into weightlifting, even though it's not actually a career. And again, I found my parents' support 100% when I made that decision. And I remember sitting down and telling my father, he's in love with sports, but he's also a principal of school. So the need for us to have a great education and
I
how,
can imagine.
Of course, he really wanted us to have a great education and all that, but he was immediately super supportive, and he told me, if you're not going to do this now, you'd never do it, so go ahead, just try it out, see where it takes you. Take it, let's say, test it out for a year, see how it goes for a year when you're a full-time weightlifter, and we'll see from there. And I had all the support in the world, which really helped. When you look at it, it looks very intense and, of course, a bit scary. It isn't scary at all.
You're paving the way. That's how I see it.
She's actually become a great source of inspiration for me as well. My biggest inspiration starting out was an athlete representing Great Britain who started the sport when she was 28 years old. Lifting weights, I would have never imagined lifting 5 years ago. Would have been sure it was impossible for me to do. I've trained with the Italian team, Slovenian team. Before the World Championships in 2019, I suffered a not so great injury to my ankle, which put me out of training for a lot longer than I would have ever thought it would.